This video is called Enough with the Woke Girl Boss Video Games. Makes sense, right? So here's my first opinion on like the girl boss videos, right? The girl boss video games. They are not good. And the reason why they're not good is because these female characters aren't written well. They are oftentimes also Mary Sue's, which means they have no faults in their character and stuff. And yeah, I prefer characters, also female characters, that do have flaws, that do make mistakes, that are relatable, and that like that are not girl bosses, that actually need help and like need help from others, and like just like are not this like strong independent type. Just like I would like men just like not being. I like strong men, obviously, but I also would also like them to have the same faults. I just want well written characters. To be fair, it doesn't really matter what they are. Just give me well written characters. Give me a goblin who's well written. Give me an orc who's well written. Give me an elf who's well written. I don't care. Just give me a character that's good written. And usually with these girl boss type games, that's usually not the case. But yeah, let's get into it.
What are we doing here, people?
Enough with the woke girl boss games. Video games.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh. And of course, by me and my tea company, Lions Tea Exchange. In addition to my regular one industry, and I like commenting on it. So with that said and that in mind, I do know that some of you have been missing my normal deep divey kind of content about other topics, and I do have a couple of those in the works. They are coming. They just take longer to produce because there's a lot of editing and researching that goes into them, but hopefully the ones that I'm working on you will enjoy. So please be patient. I will once again be mama bird vomiting long form content into your face holes very soon. I'm sorry for that image. I'm having a weird day.
Mama birding me? So, you're saying Mommy Sydney? I can see it.
Anyway, I'm sure that many of you have seen the recent news that Sucker Punch Productions is working on a Ghost of Tsushima 2 called The Ghost of Yotei, which is set to be released sometime in 2025. Based on the game's short announcement trailer, we can see that the game's protagonist is a woman called Atsu, and the game is set in 1603, some 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima. Yes, that means no Jin Sakai, and probably no foxes to follow.
No.
Off cliffs.
No.
A sad day for us all. Anyway, even with very little information to go off with relation to the game itself, the internet is already screaming in all directions, with countless predominantly left-wing outlets already reporting that people are mad that the lead character is a woman, that
yeah, but guess who created that circumstance? Guess who created that circumstance? You! You created that circumstance. Game developers created that circumstance. Every time now a woman is introduced, the game will be considered woke. How do you undo that? You make good games with female leads. That is how you undo it. But you are not capable. It appears not that you are capable of doing so. Because if you were able to do so, if you were able to produce organic female characters that appeal to their audiences, this wouldn't look that way. But apparently you can't. Specifically, like the people that make these games can't. Other like developers make great female characters that appeal to their audience, like with no effort. But specifically these Western developers, not all of them, obviously, they are really good. Like they are still good Western developers who are able to produce good characters, good female characters, good male characters, good characters overall. But specifically these big ones, they are not able to do so for some other reason.
They're accusing the game of being woke, and a former Sony executive even told people that if they don't like it, don't buy it. Why is this always their go-to advice? And why is it that when people follow this advice, they get accused of bigotry and racism? For God's sake.
I got accused for bigotry because I said the religious right currently does have no power in the world. I got called a bigot for that. That's nice, right? I don't know how that happened, but I guess I'm a bigot now. I'll be real. I don't care. That word has no meaning. The word bigot is a buzzword. It means nothing. Hey, you're a bigot. I guess so. It literally means nothing. It just means nothing.
Just pick a lane. Of course, there are already plenty of videos out there all over the place where people are arguing amongst themselves about whether or not the game's female protagonist is a DEI decision or not.
We just need to wait until more for the game is shown. You know, we might be wrong. We might be wrong. I just find it sad that the story Ghost of Tsushima isn't really continued. That's the only sad part.
Today was an awful day for misogynistic racists. It only took gamers a matter of seconds to get upset about the Ghost of Tsushima sequel having a female protagonist. They're already attacking Erika, who plays Atsu, and I thought the whole trailer was just insanely cool.
The problem is, Ghost of Tsushima is a fairly masculine game. You have established a vastly male audience, which means that the sequel should have a male main character, or a character that appeals to the male audience. With that, you are pushing away your core audience, which makes the game fail. Also, it's interesting. You call the right racist towards Asians. Aren't you usually racist towards Asians? It's just a question.
There's also been some complaints about the graphics in the trailer being too similar to Ghost of Tsushima, quite possibly one of the most beautiful video games to ever exist.
I mean, it's an art style, so that makes no sense. That complaint is useless.
What more do you want? Why aren't you ever happy?
Probably because the entertainment industry keeps giving us stuff like this.
Is he or they with us?
And we can't take it anymore.
These people come out like clockwork. Literally, has Sucker Punch gone woke, new female protagonist, all the buzzwords they want to get people's attention with. This guy mentions that the new protagonist is female like 10 different times in this video.
Now, while all of this reporting has been true, that people are in fact worried about the game's female lead and are worried that it's going to be woke.
Because the narrative now is that female character is woke is created by game developers and game journalists. It's like saying, I have a stalk. It's like saying I post myself on OnlyFans and now I have a stalker. Yo, you shouldn't have a stalker, but you created a circumstance. It's like female characters shouldn't be considered woke, but they are now because you created those circumstance. This circumstance. It really is that simple. They don't see that. I love female protagonists. They're great female characters. I love the female characters in Xenoblade. I love the female characters in The Witcher. I think they're great. The Tales of female characters. What else? The female characters in Pokemon are really cool. Makes you think. Where is it coming from? why it is the way it is.
I think that there is a deliberate misunderstanding taking place here as to where those fears and concerns are coming from. And largely, this negative reaction so clearly boils down to the fact that people are so used to political messaging in everything that they consume and see these days, that when they come into contact with something that even a little bit resembles it, they have a knee-jerk reaction. And in this case, that includes the perception that the original game's male protagonist has been replaced now with a female protagonist, the personal behavior...
The simple pattern recognition. It literally just comes down to pattern recognition. The game doesn't have to be woke. The character could be great. However, it's pattern recognition. Wolfenstein, male lead, replaced by a female lead. Gears of War, male lead mostly. Just male lead, replaced by a woman. We see the pattern. It is... If it was a sequel, like a spin-off around the same time, it would look a little different, but it's a sequel.
Behavior and opinions.
And the reason it's a sequel is because what's the word? Like spin-off wouldn't make the same money.
Of the game's lead actress, Erika Ishii, I think that's how that's pronounced. Some of the perceived political opinions of those working on the game, and the overall fatigue and frustration associated with diversity and inclusion and representation being forced into everything. But you know what won't give you fatigue? Filling your tummy with delicious food, which is why today's video is sponsored by HelloFresh.
Nyong.
People shouldn't hate Ghost of Yotei as a game because of the lead actress's behavior in her personal life. The lead actress slash protagonist being Erika Ishii, who is gay and very active in the LGBT community, has expressed interest in people using all pronouns for her, so I don't know, I guess she's like gender fluid or something like that.
I mean, it's water, gender fluid. Yeah.
And really hates Trump supporters. This, of course, has led to a lot of criticism and concern. So with this in mind, the writer of
It really doesn't matter if I support Trump or not, which is why I'm gonna get to say anything, because I can vote for anybody in there.
This article expresses that the hate for Ghost of Yotei is baseless and unnecessary.
Though I think financially would probably be the better decision. Financially. Character-wise, I don't know, but financially probably be the best decision.
If it's entirely based on Ishii's personal sentiments. He writes, the game exists independently of their personal life, and that boundary should be respected. Ah, I see we're doing a they-them thing. How progressive. You know, when I see this kind of thing, it makes me really curious about the motivation behind referring to somebody as a they-them when they've expressly stated that they're perfectly fine being called a woman and having people use female pronouns. Why do you pick the weird thing?
No, not this time. It's totally made up.
Because it is the politically right thing to do. Pretty much.
Stop trying to make non-binary happen. It's not going to happen.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
I won't lie, I do miss the days when she's were she's and he's were he's and theys were a collective group of people. Stop this. Anyway, the reality is this writer is correct in part. An actor or
Hot take. Non-binary can't exist. Because, and here's a good point, it would technically invalidate the existence of trans people. Because trans people technically want to be either or, which means that male or female technically are its own category. Because you say you were born in the wrong body, or like, yeah, pretty much. So technically, non-binary couldn't technically work. It's like the same with like pansexuality. Where you say you aren't like you love all genders, but that doesn't work because technically you can't like be attracted to somebody's brain, in a sense. Which is they also try to deconstruct being like attracted to men as a man or being attracted to women as a woman, because they even have started to not like being able to like identify what a lesbian is or like a gay man. It's weird.
Actress can be an
It
absolute
ruins my
garbage
brain.
person politically in either direction, depending on which way you swing, but still do a phenomenal job at their craft. The problem is, and I think this is what's being missed here, more often than not, when someone is aggressively left-wing especially, that tends to make its way into the entertainment that they're creating. Because if they are this active politically in their personal lives, they almost see it as their primary objective to be this political in everything else that they do. And then they get really mad when they realize that the vast majority of people probably don't agree with them and then express that disagreement on the internet. I don't know, you'd think they would have learned by now. The thing is, we've seen this actor-actress political manifestation play out time and time again in so many different projects as things become more diversity and inclusion driven. Ishii has made statements about abolishing the police.
Abolish the police. It is unconscionable, I didn't pronounce that right, to allow this racist institution that terrorizes the citizens they are sworn to protect. Abolish the police. If you abolish the police, who are you going to call if somebody's trying to hurt you? Not the police, because they don't exist.
And essentially said that those who support Trump also support fascism, racism, and homophobia.
Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Buzzwords. They don't mean anything. Racism doesn't mean anything, because technically now everyone is racist. You, me, left, right, we're all racist, just in different forms. Homophobia. Even the left is homophobic, if you don't agree with them. So that goes out of the window as well. Not only for... Also, it's funny how, you know, they make all these, like, test videos on, like, how, like, leftists react and how, Trump supporters react. When you, like, you say, like, you're like, gay, but you're, like, no, but you're black, but you'll, for example, vote for Trump. How the leftists treat you. And when you say you're like, go to them and, like, go to Trump supporters as a black person and say you vote for Trump, they're, like, really welcoming and stuff. So it's interesting to see that. Also, fascism, that word doesn't not mean anything, literally, also, because if you don't agree with me, you're a fascist. It doesn't matter from which side it comes. You could also not be... You could literally not be a Trump supporter, still be against the leftist side, and still be racist, homophobic, and fascist. Which is interesting to see.
Wow, very original. Haven't heard that one before. And then everyone clapped. Ooh, wow, so clever. And
no, stunning and brave.
once again, even if we disagree with Ishii's viewpoints, and even if we assume that she's changed some of her positions since 2020 when these tweets were made, which is obviously very unlikely, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, it is correct to say that her opinions and personal beliefs largely shouldn't play a role in the entertainment that she creates. But the likelihood of that actually being the case is unfortunately extremely slim. Especially when you consider that other people at Sucker Punch who are working on this game are also pronouns in bio kind of people. So there's that too. Part of the issue here too is that
I think this game's gonna flop.
our mate Erica is seemingly already showing disdain for people with whom she disagrees politically, but also people who've had a negative response to the game. I know, right? Shocking. When this game was initially announced, many people found themselves blocked by the actress without even knowing who she was and without having ever interacted with her. Some people even commented they found themselves blocked even after they defended her online. I will slightly defend this by saying that I too am quite hot hot on the block button these days, particularly on Twitter, because I am of the opinion that you can criticize somebody or you can disagree with them in a way that is respectful or joking or getting your point across without being revolting. But as soon as you're revolting or I see you being revolting to somebody else, I'm gonna block you. I
agree. This is why I carefully tailor my community. You are allowed to say any opinion you want. Any. Left wing, right wing, centrist, I don't care. As long as you're being respectful and you're not calling somebody bad words. Well, I do call somebody bad words if you're like really dumb. If you are disrespectful, I'm gonna be disrespectful back, obviously. But yeah, that's my personal point. And I will block you. I've muted a lot of people on this channel already because I said no. You can disagree with me, but if you're going to insult me, or like you're purposely ignoring what I'm saying, or you're calling me a bigot for stating something obvious, which is technically not bigoted, I'm gonna send you into the Shadow Realm. I don't care.
I'm just gonna do it. Call me weak-willed and a baby person, if you will, but I think I've been doing this for long enough to know that being insulted in this large a supply just isn't for me. I won't block my long-term reply guys though, because I think they're some of my biggest fans. Some of these people have been around for years. Just admit it. You love me. Then I love you too. Overall point being, people are observing this woman's behavior, her political opinions, the political opinions of the people at Sucker Punch, and the inclusion of a female protagonist, and arriving at the conclusion that this game is going to be more of the same. More girl boss bullshit, more overly leftist storylines, and
like I said, it is pattern recognition. You see this and you already know what's going on.
Something that will never live up to the standard that was Ghost of Tsushima. So with all of this in mind, let's address this female protagonist issue that seems to have people very, very heated. While I personally don't find female protagonists to be an issue most of the time, I can understand the people who do, and I can understand in this case specifically why people are very upset by this. My friend and fellow YouTuber Endymion went viral after he tweeted his disappointment when he saw that the Ghost of Yotei's lead was a woman. He expressed that he was over the girl bossiness, so to speak, being shoved down everyone's throats.
Yeah, see, he also brought up the point. Let me go back. He also brought it up. Let me go back. Here. Ghost of Tsushima sequel stars a Japanese woman samurai warrior, because of course it does. They can't help themselves until every franchise that's built on masculinity is replaced by women. And you have to admit, Ghost of Tsushima is a fairly masculine game. Just like Gears of War was a fairly masculine game. Just like other games were fairly masculine. And if you try to reverse that and appeal to an audience that simply does not exist, it just does not exist. You cannot give a primarily male audience a female protagonist. That does not work. Because they cannot identify with it anymore. If you made like a game series based completely on Africa and black people, replacing the black main character with a white main character would cause the same fucking issue. You can't have a game series that revolves about gay people and replace gay characters with straight characters in the next sequel. You are alienating your, like, you are pushing away your consumer base. I think you're trying what I'm getting to get at. Not everything has to be for everyone. If you want to make a game series only focused on women and on a female audience, you can do that. If you're making a game series completely focused on queer people, you can do that. If you want to make a game series completely focused on men, you should be able to do that. It is okay. It's very simple. I'm gonna be back real quick. Like, it is very simple. You don't need to do that. Super simple.
Shoved down everyone's throats. This is also what led to that former Sony exec tweeting that if people don't like the game, then don't buy it.
Okay, so let me get that straight. When people don't like a game, and they don't buy it, then it's the gamer's fault for a game failing. That doesn't make any sense. You said we shouldn't buy it, so if we buy it, don't buy it, you should not complain.
Okay, challenge accepted. Endymion also made a video discussing this issue where he said that while he doesn't necessarily have a problem with good female leads, he prefers to play as male characters most of the time. And I will link that video in the description box if you guys are interested in watching it yourself.
Just like me, I like to play male characters. Except when I can make myself a female character. Then I actually do like to play as a female character, because they usually look better.
That's
Funny.
what you should do. It's quite good. Now, to be perfectly clear, it is completely fine to feel this way. Shocking, I know. People have preferences. Gamers have preferences. Who would have thought? I wouldn't say I typically have a preference here because I am perfectly fine to play as the giant muscular men, because why wouldn't I want that? But by the same token, I'm also completely cool designing cute little girl characters to play as, and I usually do that when I have the opportunity.
I play mostly female characters. When I can make my character, because I can make them hot. That's realistically the only reason why I do it.
And, you know, when I play Far Cry 5 for the 9,000th time, I will make Rook a woman once again, and then pretend that she's running around getting bitten by cougars and, you know, drop-kicking cultists. As God intended. But here's where I land on people being cross about this specific issue. Before diversity and inclusion invaded everything that we know and love, lots of video games did feature both male and female.
It's like interesting. This wasn't the problem with the first Horizon Zero Dawn. Did anybody ever see outrage about the first Horizon Zero Dawn? I don't think so. Which makes you think this is a new thing, the reaction to female characters in video games. That is a new thing. People never had a problem up until then with female leads. It only became a problem once it became pattern recognition for DEI.
Female protagonists, and when a female was introduced, people didn't really think anything of it. Lots of video games have created new and different characters as a series has progressed and become more complex, and again, people didn't think anything of it. I think the ambivalence towards a character's sex is probably more normal than abnormal. I don't personally have an issue with a female lead in a game, and honestly, on the face of it, I don't think many other gamers do.
Stellar Blade. It's interesting how there was no outrage about her being a woman if men don't like women, and I can definitely tell that game has a primarily male audience. Looking at the main character.
Either. But I think the issue here, much like with Hollywood films and shows, female protagonists are being shoved into games for no other reason than greater representation, and that becomes really obvious in the way the character is written and the things she does. So her position in a game is no longer because she's a cool new character who just happens to be female, but because she's designed to push some sort of message about representation and inclusion.
That's the same problem people have with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. It is basically, we only got Yasuke not because he's like a super important character to the story and they really want they really want to tell a Yasuke story, which basically he has no story. He's basically just a trophy, pretty much. For back then, as far as I've understood, Yasuke is only in that game for representation. I don't like that. I don't like that. Cause I can bet that character is going to be written really bad.
Conclusion. And I want to make this point as well, but I'm not really sure where it fits, so I'm just gonna mush it in here. I saw a lot of discussion around the parallels with this game and the 2023 series called Blue-Eyed Samurai. It appears some people who believe Ghost of Yotei will be bad because it lacks historical accuracy and features a female samurai, seemingly loved the 2023 show, which features a female warrior called Mizu on her quest to kill a bunch of people. I'll be vague because I don't want to spoil it. I confess, even I initially thought it was going to be more artificially strong woman girl boss bullshit, but I was honestly completely wrong. It ended up being so well executed, and Mizu as a character was so well written. On that front, I think Mizu and her story demonstrated that it's not necessarily female leads that people hate. It's the fact that girl bosses tend to ignore every—
Like I said, it's pattern recognition. You start to see like red flags. And one of the red flags is male protagonist gets replaced by female protagonist. That is pretty much the red flag.
Every storytelling staple that make a good character. An article by Brandon Morse of Red State explained why it's harder but worth it to write good female action heroes. He argues that these female characters need to be portrayed differently to succeed. While a woman can be a skilled swordsman, for example, perhaps even better than her male counterparts, her journey to that skill is more challenging due to her physical limitations. This hardship makes her triumph even more powerful. However, modern storytelling avoids showing female characters as weaker, missing an opportunity to highlight their strength through struggle. Blue-Eyed Samurai, for example, handled this extremely well with Mizu, depicting her painful journey, embracing her womanhood, and showing her as a true warrior and not just a basic girl boss. And I think this summary is honestly more or less true.
Yeah, that's why nobody liked Rey from the Star Wars sequels. Same problem.
Regrettably, because we have been exposed to a ton of political messaging and wokeness in video games, particularly as of late, there is a hair-trigger knee-jerk reaction to seeing a female protagonist that is sometimes, if we're being honest, kinda undeserved. And it's sad that this issue has become a cultural power.
Yeah, undeserved? Sure. Red flag? Depends on the situation. New franchise, female character, careful. Okay? Careful. Not get too stressed out about it. Probably will be fine. Female character, main character, in a franchise, for a sequel that was for a main game that was before that a man, red flag. Just how it is nowadays.
Powder keg, because as I've said previously and in a ton of other videos, there is always room to tell a great female-led story. I can also understand in this case why a lot of people feel disappointment that we won't see the continuation of Jin Sakai's story in the new Ghost game, and why they feel he was sidelined to shoehorn in another female-led story. Honestly, we don't know why this decision was made, but I do think it is a sign of the times that people automatically assume the worst of intentions, because that's the stage that has been set for all of us. The bottom line here, in my opinion, is that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with bringing on a new protagonist, and there's also nothing fundamentally wrong with that protagonist being female. Ghost of Tsushima was extremely well executed as a game, and it's why people are likely having such a strong reaction to this next one, because we've been built up and let down again and again with sequels that undermine the excellence of the initial game or creation.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That is what happened. That is what is happening.
Despite all of our many reservations, based on what we know about the original game, and based on this alone, there is no real reason to believe that Ghost of Yotei will be terrible. And personally, I'm actually kind of looking forward to this a little bit. Despite all the controversy here and the nonsense and the crap.
Again, careful. The red flag has been put up.
that goes along with everything in these entertainment spaces. I really do hope that this is a good game, and I hope that not only me, but everybody who likes this kind of game actually enjoys it. I genuinely really hope that it lives up to the hype of the original game, and I also hope that it does well this female lead, as well as telling a really great story.
I do hope so as well. I do in fact hope so as well, because Ghost of Tsushima was really good. It was a really good game. However, most AAA games now are kind of in the mud, kind of the trenches. So careful, very careful, very careful.
Ultimately, it is really sad that Western game developers in particular have traumatized players to the extent that each and every game is scrutinized this much. But in the end, I firmly believe that this is yet another case of you reap what you sow. And I hope that Sucker Punch is smart enough to do right by fans rather than invest in political messaging. Now, before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder, check out HelloFresh using the link in the description. I've actually used HelloFresh, and I had done so long before they contacted me for this sponsorship, but it's a pretty cool opportunity now to take advantage of their free breakfast items. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you somebody who believes that this is a complete overreaction to the...
Okay, so here's my opinion, okay? It is... I wouldn't say it's an overreaction, because the red flag of like replacing the male character has been shown. I hope that it is going to be a good game. I hope that it will succeed because it is a good game. If it's not a good game, I guess, well, rip Ghost of Tsushima. I guess that's what's gonna happen. But anyways, We'll just have to wait, see more, see dialogue, see the game, see the gameplay. And yeah, we'll see.